My entitled, controlling mother is demanding that I break up with my boyfriend, so I am officially cutting her out of my life. So I'm 18 years old and about to finish my first year of college. My mom and I had a talk about 2 weeks ago about how she doesn't approve of my boyfriend just because he doesn't go to college and had some personal issues preventing him from getting his high school diploma. Keep in mind, he is working on getting his GED and is planning to enroll in college after summer. My mother is the type of person to think everything she's doing is right, and if anyone says anything differently, it's disrespecting her. She wanted me to cut off my connection with my dad because they are divorced and doesn't want me to have a relationship with my aunt and uncle because they sided with him apparently. She would refuse any support from my dad, such as getting me a car or simply buying me food. My mom thinks I cannot think for myself and does the thinking for me. Anytime I tell her this is how I feel, she disregards my feelings and how I think. She still treats me like a kid who needs to be watched over 24/7. I get yelled at for not texting back or answering immediately, even though I could be busy. She doesn't let me go anywhere without her permission, but it's 90% of the time a no. I have to let her know 2 weeks ahead of time if there's an event or hangout of any kind that's happening. I have to let her know who's coming and she has to talk to their parents. She's a very strong-headed person, so it's impossible to communicate with her. It's hard for me to express my feelings in general because of that. It made me have a hard time communicating in general, but my boyfriend encourages me to express myself and to communicate with him anyways. Over Christmas, my mom got very mad at me for opening a present from my aunt. What set her off the most is that I told her it's my present, so I should decide whether to open it or not. She was furious. She was screaming and yelling and mocking me because I was crying, taking my phone away and looking through my messages. Fast forward to present time. My boyfriend has always been super supportive. He helps me out with school and is far from a distraction whatsoever. We've been together going on 1 year now with zero problems. My mom liked him at first, saying how amazing he was to me and respectful overall, but as the months go by, she suddenly thinks that no, he's not a good fit for me. This past Monday, she called me reiterating everything and then asked me if I'm going to do what she said. This was the first time I've ever told her no in my life. My mom doesn't take kindly to me speaking my mind and telling her how I feel. I always get rejected for how I'm feeling. I'm not allowed to think for myself. She didn't like my answer and she goes on and on about how all these people in our lives don't support my boyfriend and absolutely don't want him with me. At this point, I'm crying on the phone because she's yelling at me and then proceeds to mock me crying, which has happened many times before. She basically said I either can stay in the relationship or she completely cuts me off, including my college tuition loan, which she unknowingly put in my name. After that, I hadn't heard from her in 2 days. She usually texts and calls me multiple times daily, which I don't like, but when she doesn't text me, she's either mad at me or wants some space. So I texted her cousin to ask her opinion on everything. She sent me a sweet message supporting my relationship and basically told me my mom is unhappy with it. The following morning, on a Thursday, I get a super long text from my mom saying, "I'm angry and hurt by your actions. You yelled, screamed, and later in the conversation hung up the phone, all because you insist on dating a boy who is not motivated for higher education. He comes from privilege. You don't. He has no intentions of going to school. He probably won't even get his GED. That is his business. You are my business. My goal is to give you all the tools to get educated. If you don't want to follow my rules, I will let you become the independent adult you want to be. I had no intentions of texting or calling you until next Thursday," which happens to be the end of the semester, mind you. "That's how hurt and angry I am. The only reason I am texting you is because my cousin phoned me last night and said that you reached out to her. By the way, I love you more than I love myself, but I think it's time to love myself now. I will not be disrespected by anyone anymore. If you ever raise your voice or hang up on me again, I promise I will walk away from you." I never did any of those things except hang up on her one time. I speak my mind once and say no, which makes her blow up on me. Honestly, I'm just really afraid of my mom. It's like she's going to explode at any random point. I've developed a lot of anxiety because of her. Like she's this voice in my head everywhere I go. It's been better ever since I've been away at college, but I still deal with him often. I finally have the freedom to do my own thing and be my own person. I'm not excited to be going back to a controlling and manipulative household. I'm planning on cutting her out of my life completely. I'm packing up my bags and sneaking away late at night. Luckily, my boyfriend is helping me with everything and taking me to my dad's. Hopefully, this distance will be a good thing for our relationship. If not, she will probably not let me back into her life or just straight up disown me. The thing is, I'm really scared scared. A part of myself tells me that I should feel bad and that what I'm doing is wrong, but I'm just not sure. What should I do? I think escaping this situation and going to your dad's house is the absolute right decision. Your mom seems incredibly unhinged. She is gaslighting you, she is treating you terribly, and trust me when I say this, you are going to be so much better off away from her. College can be a wonderful antidote for any kind of weird situation you may have had at home. I've seen that from several friends of mine who have been in sticky situations similar to this, but I can tell you that life away from family members who act like this is going to be so much better for you. I don't know the specific details about how your dad acts or anything along those lines, but hopefully if you feel like you can go to his house and get away from your mom, then it most likely is a better living condition than being around her. She seems crazy. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. And sneaking out in the middle of the night honestly might be your only way out of there, because I can honestly see her trying to do everything within her power to keep you in that house. And honestly, you don't need that, and you're going to be so much happier away from that crazy woman. This next one came from the Am I the Jerk podcast subreddit. Check the link in the description if you'd like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for wanting to block an old childhood friend for being way too clingy? This friend I'll call Jim, and we have been best friends since we were about 10 years old. Growing up, we went to the same school, and we would have hung out more, but when we were 15, he moved about 30 miles away, so we didn't hang out a lot, but every moment we could, we did. When I went to college, we lost contact, as he stayed in that town and my college was in a different country. When I got back, we became friends again, but slowly drifted apart as I was dating and wanted to spend more time with my girlfriend than him. Jim seemed very clingy, and everything in my life has to involve him. If it doesn't, he lashes out at me and asks what kind of friend would do that. A couple of months into my relationship, he asked me who his best friend was, him or my girlfriend. Without hesitation, I said my girlfriend, and he got really offended by that and said, how could my girlfriend be my best friend even though I've known him longer? I explained how my girlfriend and I are really close, and he just couldn't wrap his head around it. I tried explaining how dating and being with a girl is more important to me than hanging out with guy friends, but he still didn't fully understand, so we both just let it go. Shortly after that, he became friends with some other friends of mine who also just happened to be dating. I'll call these two Sam and Judy. I've known Sam and Judy just as long, if not longer, than I've known Jim. The five of us would hang out once or twice a week, but as my girlfriend and I wanted to hang out with couples instead of having a third or fifth wheel, we slowly started spending less time with Jim. Sam, Judy, my girlfriend, and I would go on double dates and hang out quite a bit as we were all about the same age. We all had the same interests, and it just kind of clicked. Jim got really jealous because to him, the four of us did everything together and he was left alone. While the four of us did hang out, it was maybe once a month, if that. About a year later, when my girlfriend and I had our oldest child, Jim insisted he be the first non-family person to hold our kid. Instead, it ended up being one of my girlfriend's friends. My girlfriend posted a picture of her friend holding our kid on social media, and Jim came over the next day and threw a massive fit. He was yelling and cussing at me and my girlfriend because we were apparently terrible friends, and overall freaking out because someone else held the kid before he could. I explained to him that it was just a matter of timing. My girlfriend's friend came over a day before Jim was planning on coming over, and that's the only reason why she held the kid before he did. But that just seemed to make him even more upset. He went on to ask why I didn't call him or have him come over that same day. I explained to him that there wasn't really a plan and she just came over out of nowhere. This seemed to only make him even more mad. I then asked him if he wanted to hold our kid, but he just said no and then left. I didn't talk to him for about a month after that. Around that time, Jim came out as gay and said he had strong feelings for Sam. Sam told him he wanted nothing to do with him romantically, as he was in a serious relationship with Judy, and also he's not attracted to men. After that, Jim started stalking them, sending creepy texts to both Sam and Judy, and left letters on Sam's door, all claiming his love for Sam and how he wished Judy was no longer alive so he and Sam could be happy together. Sam and Judy showed me those messages and letters, and I confronted Jim, and he denied all of it and told me that Judy is a snake and that all the messages were made up and the whole situation was a lie that Sam and Judy made just to make him look bad. So at that point, I stopped talking to Jim completely. Also, in recent times, I've spent more time with Sam and Judy, and after the whole thing about Jim not holding my baby first, I absolutely took Sam and Judy's side. Sam even installed a security system and got a dog that would bark if a bird was in the yard to make sure Jim wouldn't come by his place ever again. He had his house locked down. After that whole thing, I blocked Jim on social media as well as on my phone, and I didn't hear from him for about 6 months. One day, Jim's sister found me online and asked if I knew how Jim was doing and where he was because apparently he disappeared. I found out that he went to a mental mental institution to get some help. After he got out, he got my number from a mutual friend online and sent me a text from a new number. He sounded a lot more friendlier and acted more like a friend than a creep. I've kept my distance and only have short conversations via text every once in a while. Last year I moved and he has no idea where I live, nor do I want to let him know. We have met at a couple public places to hang out. I'm planning on marrying my girlfriend soon, but I don't want him to know about it so he doesn't show up and throw a fit because he wasn't invited. But my honest plan is to move again later this year, to block him on all social media as well as my phone. But what else should I do? And what would you do if you were in my position? If I was in your position, I would have never let him contact me ever again. This person is clearly unhinged. There's no way I would let that person back in my life. I can't believe that you met with him in public. There's no way I would let that happen. The way he acted around your child, the fact that he wanted to hold it first and freaked out when he didn't get to hold it first, that is not normal behavior. And the fact that he was making up things about Judy and Sam just to try and get with Sam is super creepy as well. I'm just in shock that you would even let that person back into your life in the first place. When it comes to my own personal safety, I would take Sam and Judy's experience as a wonderful litmus test of what could easily happen to me. Jim is not a good friend, and I would not even consider him an acquaintance after the way he acted. I would wipe my hands clean and say sorry, but I don't want to be friends with you. And if they ask why and get offended, I can give my reasons and then cut them off. And if they get upset, well, congratulations, get upset. That has nothing to do with me, my girlfriend, or my child. But that's just my opinion. What would you do? Leave a comment down below. We would love to hear what you have to say. I discovered flirty messages that my dad has been exchanging with another woman who is not my mom. I've always thought my dad and my mom had an amazing marriage. They've been together for almost 30 years. They're loving, funny, very close to each other and to me and my brother. We are currently on vacation near our house, and while I was using my dad's phone to send my brother the pictures we took, Laura, a woman my parents know because they're in an amateur running team, sent him a message. I opened the chat because we always use each other's phones, so it was not weird for me to read his message. But what I saw when I opened the message almost made me cry. I had the strength and time before he came back to just read a few messages, but basically he was telling her that he wanted to take the dress she had yesterday evening off, and she replied with a laughing emoji. He then said some other suggestive things in the message that I think I'll spare you the details on. This woman is known for flirting with married men, but I've never for a moment thought my dad could do something so awful. He has always pretended to not like her very much, but this just changes everything. I felt my stomach drop, and now we are together till tomorrow, and I can't even look at him. I just want to cry. I haven't told anyone. I don't know what to do. Do I tell my brother first? Do I tell my aunt, who's my mom's sister, who happens to just be a therapist? What should I do? This is a tricky situation, but yeah, I would definitely get documentation of that first and foremost, personally. It is not okay to go around behind your wife's back and start flirting with another woman. I wouldn't go around talking to other people about it personally first. I would probably go to the dad first and be like, hey, I saw these messages, what gives? There might be some kind of details around this that you don't know about, so jumping to a serious conclusion might not be the best thing to do. Like, who knows? Maybe these inappropriate messages have a reason behind them, and there might be a chance where the mom's in on it, but I really doubt that. But either way, this is definitely a very scary situation, and I'm so sorry you have to deal with this. No one wants to hear that their dad is somehow flirting with another woman after you thought your entire life that they were loyal to their wife. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully there's some kind of deeper story behind this. Like, hopefully maybe there's some kind of weird, private, mutual reason these messages are happening, but I doubt that. Regardless of what happens though, I definitely wish you the best of luck in trying to navigate this, because this definitely sounds tricky. My family disapproves of my fiancé, and I don't know what to do. I'm 32 and she's 33. I'm a very successful medical professional. I'm the oldest sibling and a role model son in a first-generation immigrant family. We live in the Midwest. My fiancé is also a medical professional and lives on the East Coast, although her family is here. She's stunning, looks wise, and is a great person. We met on a dating app and we clicked immediately. We see each other about 2 times a month. We started dating 10 months ago. A quick note though, she makes a great living, but not nearly as much as I do, and her family is not as well off as mine is. We are both of the same religion, and due to this, and her being a woman, her family wouldn't approve of her living with me before marriage. She's looking at jobs to move back to my city, although she loves her life on the East Coast. It all seems nice, but here's the problem. My family thinks this is moving extremely quickly. My brother called me highly concerned about the situation. He's met her in person once and told me that he honestly got a terrible impression of her. I was floored. She's a bit introverted and was very nervous about wanting my family to like her at our meeting, so she went out of her way family and got them gifts to try and win them over. He stated she would be a bad match for me and that he really thinks it's a great idea for her to move here and for us to live together first before we commit to an engagement. My brother is not religious and he didn't understand the cultural expectation that would basically say that that's not possible. He also feels like she's moving fast because of my profession and money, which is just not true. He's only met her one time and flaked another time when he was invited, so his opinion of her isn't very detailed. But to my surprise, my mother feels the same way as my brother, and now I'm freaking out. They are usually great judges of character, and now have me second guessing. No relationship is perfect, but I went into this with serious intentions from the beginning, and feel she'd be a great life partner and future mother to my children. A part of me also feels like they just haven't had the chance to get to know her, and that's a huge part of why they're scared for me. Another part of me is just feeling very defensive. It feels like this decision faces a lot of scrutiny, and honestly, it's always been like that since I'm the oldest sibling. All of this has me really nervous, and I'm not sure what to do. If you were in my situation, what would you do? It does feel a little bit fast, but I don't think it's that fast to really be weird. Like, long distance relationships can absolutely work, but maybe having her live in the area and spending much more quality time with her could probably put your family at ease and allow everybody to move forward and not be weirded out by this. Also, you get to be around your fiance much more, which is fantastic. I think your family will eventually get over it, and I don't think you're making a mistake. I think it's understandable that your family is feeling apprehensive about the whole situation because they've only met her one time, but I think with time and a little bit of effort, they can get to know her more, and then they'll probably feel really good about all of this. My girlfriend is upset because she wasn't invited to an event. Over a month ago, my brother invited me, my dad, and my older brother to a comedy show that we knew from our childhood. The show is coming up soon. A few days after, my brother invited me and my dad. My mom found out and wanted to be added to the list as well. It's not unusual for us to do some events as a family, even now that my brothers live in the next city over. A week or so ago, I found out that my older brother's girlfriend, who comes from a different country to stay with him occasionally, was going to be there around the time of the show. At first, we were under the impression that she would be leaving the day before, but plans changed, and he managed to snag a last-minute ticket for her sometime between when the whole thing was being arranged and now. I wasn't made privy to any such changes until recently. I told my girlfriend, whom I've been dating for 12 years, and she's very upset that she was not invited while my brother's girlfriend was. She told me this was not the first time something similar has happened, and she has mentioned that it upset her when my brother's girlfriend was invited to a family event while she wasn't. When my brother was still living at home, his girlfriend stayed at our house when she flew up to see him and worked in the city here for a few months a few years ago, so it was kind of unavoidable. I understand that she is upset, and I'm not arguing that it is unreasonable to be so, given that she is the only one left out, but the quantity of distress she shows over this seems unreasonable to me. It was a mistake on my part not to invite her, yes, but we spend a lot of time together doing other things, including things with my family, with her family, or especially just the two of us. And also, I wasn't the one buying the tickets or inviting people to the TV show event. I was under the impression it was just a family event, and when I learned that my older brother's girlfriend was coming, it would have been too late to buy any other tickets anyways. I'm not sure what to do from here. Should I just say I'm sorry and say something like, hey, next time something like this comes up, I'll be sure to invite you? Is she justified in thinking that this is an end of relationship deal breaker between us? What should I do? I'm really surprised that the girlfriend in this situation would consider this a deal breaker. Like, it just sounds like this is just the worst case scenario and a chain of events absolutely ruined any possibility of her coming along. But I don't think this should take away from the relationship. I think if anything, the guy should just say, hey, I'm not going to go to this event because my girlfriend can't come with me, and then buy out of the ticket. That way they can spend some time together and do their own thing. The guy said it best. It's not like they don't do things together. It seems like this was just kind of a one-off event and circumstances just had it so that the girlfriend wasn't coming along. It seemed like it went from this is just a family event with specific family members to, hey, let me bring my girlfriend along. And that by the time he was ready to try to ask, hey, can I bring my girlfriend along? It was way too late. Based on what we've been told, it doesn't seem intentional, and it doesn't seem like they're intentionally saying, hey, we don't want your girlfriend to come along. This seems more inconsequential than anything else. So no, I don't think this is a deal breaker. I think this is just being blown way out of proportion, and I think we need to pull this back a little bit. So in my opinion, I think the guy should absolutely just not go to the show and spend time with his girlfriend instead. Maybe they can have a date night and try and work things out. But ending a relationship just because you didn't get invited to a show seems a little ridiculous to me. But that's just my opinion. What do you think though? Leave a comment down below. What would you do if you were in this situation? Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And the next time you live stream, use the cream of the crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.